And Sharren Haskel is a member of parliament, a member of the Knesset in Jerusalem in Israel. She joins me on this special broadcast. Sharren Haskel, what can you tell us about the operations that are underway at the Al-Shifa Hospital? A video has been put out with doctors and paramedics and patients saying they're unable to breathe because of the shelling, the fumes, the debris, the firing that's on at the hospital complex, ma'am.
Okay, so as we've seen 2 days ago when the IDF released footage from another hospital where Hamas operative and terrorists actually had their facility weapons, anti-rockets, a vest, a bomb vest for a suicide bomber. They had RPG weapons in the basement of that hospital. There are evidence that they actually held hostages in the hospital, which today we have full proof of Hamas terrorists actually using hospitals as a cover-up and as a shield for their operation. That's the reason why we have to go into the Shifa Hospital as well. The Shifa Hospital is a headquarters for the Hamas terrorist organization. Hamas is using it for their bunkers, for their ammunition, and probably they also have held or still hold some hostages there. This is the reason why we have to reach that Shifa Hospital.
Sharren Haskel, there are reports that seem to indicate that there are about 25 patients in critical care. There are about 20 plus children in neonatal care, and without oxygen, without electricity, their care, patient care, is being adversely impacted.
So we've actually already notified and we've asked for patients to evacuate. There are a few initiatives of different Arab countries, including Egypt, including the Arab Emirates, who have built field hospitals in the south area. I think that the best thing is to actually evacuate to the south area where they can actually get medical treatment. Now, this could have already ended, even 2 weeks ago, if Hamas only surrendered and returned all of our hostages. We don't want to be there. We're not at war with the Palestinians, but we have to reach Hamas and make sure they can never do such atrocities and crimes against humanity ever again. Their leadership, time after time, on international news agencies have said that they will repeat that massacre if they have the opportunity. And so we have to defend our children. We have to defend our family. And the other thing is that we have to return the families and the children who are being kept as hostages by Hamas. So if Hamas won't use Palestinians as human shields, if Hamas won't use hospitals and schools and areas with dense population as some of their bases, some of their ammunition bunkers, this won't happen. Those sites won't happen. But unfortunately, Hamas doesn't care about Palestinians. Hamas doesn't care about Palestinian children. They see them as a mean for their goal, which is the destruction of Israel. And so, unfortunately, we are faced with the only option we can, and it is to defend our country, to defend our family and our children, and do anything possible to return our hostages home.
When the Israeli Defense Forces went in, Ms. Haskel, we were told that one of their primary objectives was to rescue hostages. Hostages that we were told were perhaps in the basement of the Al-Shifa Hospital being kept as a human shield. Now that the Israeli Navy SEALs have moved in and they're hunting from room to room, is what we are being told, have any of the hostages been recovered so far?
Well, we are very hopeful that we will be able to return all of them. I mean, try and think about it. They are holding 240 children, women, elderly. Some of them they have already executed. Yesterday, a young girl, 19 years old, was executed by Hamas. We have no time. We have to go in there and do anything possible to bring back our children, our women, our grandparents back home safely.
Okay, but the hospital, we were told, also has the Hamas command and control structure in the basement and a maze of tunnels. What has been found? Has that command and control structure been dismantled or destroyed as yet? Any information that you could share with us?
So not yet. Unfortunately, while Palestinians suffer because Hamas is using them as human shield, because Hamas is actually shooting people who are trying to flee from the north to the south, their leadership is actually overseas in Qatar, in luxury hotels with private jets flying from place to place. You see them in the luxury of those hotels while their people are suffering. They know that, but they don't care about it. And so, unfortunately, we have not yet dismantled the leadership of Hamas, but we will do anything possible to make sure that Hamas is completely eliminated. This is a terrorist organization that has vouched to murder our people. That's their goal. And what they did on the 7th of October will never be forgotten, and we need to make sure that it will never happen again.
But how could this terrorist organization, as you put it, Ms. Haskel, make a maze of tunnels and concrete tunnels with proper concrete roof, rooms, air conditioning, ducting right under the nose of the Mossad and the Shin Bet? How could the Israeli intelligence agencies not know? And it's not just one tunnel, apparently 500 kilometers, 1,300 tunnels. How could it happen, and how could Israel not know?
Well, Hamas is actually, for years, has been building tunnels and bunkers under schools, under hospitals, under dense populated area. We know that, they know that, all the Palestinian Gazan citizens know that. I mean, this is a very wide channel of tunnels and bunkers that they have built for themselves. You know, in the northern area, when we entered one of the area, there were about 80% of the houses with booby traps. It means that if you open the door, the entire place explodes. Now, we've seen some of these tunnels going from some of their headquarters as well and to underneath the hospitals. We have many footages that actually document that to show the world all these proofs of what Hamas is actually doing with the facility, with the aid, and with the money that they're getting from the rest of the world.
Okay. For a moment, I want to return to that question of hostages. There was some conversation about Hamas seeking a ceasefire, a 5-day pause, and returning between 70 to 100 Israeli hostages in return for 100 Palestinian people in Israeli jails to be returned. Is this confirmed? What can you tell us about this, Ms. Haskel?
Well, we want a ceasefire, and the ceasefire will happen as soon as they bring back all of our hostages and surrender. I mean, we were at a ceasefire before the 7th of October. Time after time, Hamas is the one that is, breaking those ceasefires. And so we understand that with this terrorist organization, we cannot negotiate. I mean, what they want for the ceasefire is to accumulate more weapons and to go into more attacks. Our troops are already in Gaza. Our people are waiting for us to liberate them. There are children, Kfir, who is a 10-month-old baby. A baby is being held by those terrorists. We have no time to give them time to collect more ammunition, to go on more attacks. We want our children back. We want our family back. We want our grandparents back. What would a ceasefire help for? It won't help to the Palestinian people because Hamas is stealing their food. It's stealing their medical supplies. It's stealing their petrol for their own use. And it's not going to help Israel because it's only going to put at risk our troops and the hostages that we want to bring back home.
So are you saying no ceasefire whatsoever for 5 days, even if they return 70 to 100 of the hostages? And what does this mean? You say your troops are already in the Gaza Strip and in Gaza City. Does that mean they'll carry out their operations all the way to Rafah, to the Egyptian border to clear Hamas, or will remain restricted to Gaza City? Because there are 1 million plus, maybe more civilians on top in South Gaza, and the Hamas terrorists could be underneath in that city, beneath the city.
Well, what we are going to do is what's needed to eliminate Hamas, and what is needed to bring back our family members, our children, and our grandparents back home with us. Anything that we need to do, we will do. Israel is the Israeli army work by the army code, the ethical code, and by the Geneva Convention, and by laws of war. We obey them, and at time, yes, it does tie our hands behind our back, but we are human, and we understand the pain of the Palestinians. We don't enjoy to see it. We don't want that. We don't want war. I mean, we are heartbroken from those sides of the Palestinian children as well. But Hamas, unfortunately, doesn't care for their lives. It doesn't care for the Palestinian lives as much as it doesn't care for the lives of Israeli children. And so what do we need to do? What else can we do?
Sharren Haskel, for joining me here on India Today. Many thanks.